Okay, YouTube says we're live. Let's get our chat popped out. Get everything situated here. Move this down. Do that. There we go. Now we're getting there. Now we're getting there. There's Neil and Adrian. How y'all guys doing today? Thanks for coming by. I hope the picture and the sound is looking good. We got a decent internet connection at the moment. So, let's see what else we're looking at here. That looks fairly decent. It's amazing the picture that you get on YouTube is not the picture I'm seeing on OBS. Strange how that works. Is it hot there, Neil? You know, my brother-in-law that lives in Denton, I think it's Denton, Texas, I believe. It's a little north of Dallas, you know, what we consider North Texas, okay? I don't know, Saturday or Sunday, I don't remember which. He said he didn't know whether he needed to go water his chickens or if he just needed to go on and take some seasoning salts out there and start sprinkling that on top of them, because he claimed it was supposed to be like 123 degrees that day, and that's kind of in North Texas. You know, it's kind of rare. It gets that hot up there. Now I'm sure it's kind of slid right on over to you to a degree. Let's see. Let me change. Oh, it reverted back. Okay, hold on a minute. It always amazes me because I'm out here in the middle of the damn desert. Hey, Andrew, how you doing, buddy? And a lot of times I'm not near as hot as people in climates that, you know, should be hotter than me. Right now it's 93 degrees. We're looking at a high today of about 95. Nice day for end of June in the middle of the desert. Of course, let's see. Now, this is what's going to get you. Hold on. Let me find it. See, this is what's going to really piss you off, Neil. The humidity here is 7%. 7% humidity. Okay. That makes all the difference in the world, because I'm sure y'all's is probably about 20% or more. But yeah, 7% humidity, 95 degrees. If you just get in the shade, you're good to go. I mean, you're good. You're not sweating, or you don't feel like you're sweating anyhow. And yeah, you're good to go. Now, I will say we have it coming, okay, because Friday it's supposed to be 104. Saturday is supposed to be 109, and Sunday is supposed to be 111. So we're finally, you know, it's right at the 1st of July, so you know it's the middle of summer, so you know we're finally getting there. But we hadn't seen the triple digits out here hardly at all so far this year. So, but I think y'all are catching it a hell of a lot worse than we are at the moment, anyhow. Of course, even when it's 110 degrees, you know, if it's 3 or 4% humidity, hell, it's fine. Oh, that's right, Adrian. It cools down at night out here just dramatically, especially since I'm not in town, surrounded by asphalt or concrete or any of that bullshit. It cools down drastically uh, out here at night. You're absolutely correct on that. Oh, you still do the dew point, Neil? You know, I used to have a when I raced when I lived in Texas and drag raced right outside of Dallas. Of course, you always race, you know, into the shit midnight or later a lot of times, but after dark, it was always, you know, the real racing didn't really start till after dark almost. And of course, the humidity is always high. And for the people that don't understand, I'll do it as easy, simply as I can. The dew point is a temperature at which the air cannot hold the water in it anymore, and it loses it starts to form on things. That gives you dew. And we don't have that out here, but anyhow, when we were racing, one of the what you had to keep up with was at what time, when did the dew start falling out of the air? When did the water start falling out of the air and the dew start forming on the track, on your cars, on your bikes, on, you know, because if, you know, we ran on consistency. So if the damn tire was going to spin a half a round or something because of the dew on the track, we needed to be able to kind of halfway predict that. And I got my wife to make a printout of all the different temperatures and humidity readings and what dew point would be. So, because I had a little weather station that I also had to tell me the temperature and humidity and altitude and all this good stuff. And hey, Mongo, how you doing? So anyhow, I could predict that. So I could kind of judge when the dew was going to start forming, and what what it meant for me to do was change my dial in. So if I said I was going to run the quarter mile in 9.3 seconds, I would say, okay, I'm going to run it in 9.38 seconds. You know, that's the benefit, but I had to keep up with it. You know, that was something you had to stay on top of. A lot of people just, especially the ones that had cars, I was a lot of times on the trunk for some reason. I think because most trunks were, even the full body cars, the trunks were still metal. Okay, it wouldn't work so much on the fiberglass hoods and the fiberglass front ends, but the dew would form first on the trunk lids of the cars, and they would you know, just go back there and wipe it with their hands every now and then. And when they saw moisture, then they knew the dew was starting to fall, and they would bump their ET prediction up some because they knew they were probably going to lose a little bit of traction. And to answer your question on that, Mongo, I don't know, really. I don't think dew would affect the vape flavor. A high humidity might, because the air you're sucking through the device, you know, if it's a vast difference in the humidity, I mean, that's just water. It's water in the air. So it might. Now, in my experience, when I would mix a little bit of, well, hey, it could be a real thing now, because when I mixed in a little bit of distilled water in my juices, it really enhanced the flavor. It bumped the flavor up. Oh, I'm sure it does, Neil. It's got to. It's got to. I remember to me, the worst time in summer in Texas was like between 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock in the morning, because at night you would get all that dew on the grass and ground and everything, so it would just be wet like you had just watered your lawn, and then the sun comes up and it starts evaporating that shit, and the level of the atmosphere we live in, the lower spot, would be just a hell of a lot more humidity in it because all that shit evaporating up, and you would sweat. It wouldn't be really hot yet, but the sweat would just pour off of you at 10 o'clock in the morning versus 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because the humidity was so much higher, but just because the dew was evaporating. Now, once it got gone, it wasn't too bad. It was better, but that was always the worst. Southern Alabama. Yeah, it's humid as hell down there too. All those, once you get east to west Texas, the humidity slams you all the way to the East Coast. And once you get out in West Texas, it starts being more desert climate, so the humidity never gets there. But from Central Texas all the way to the East Coast, the humidity just kills you. I remember one time I flew back into Dallas in the middle of summer, and I had gotten acclimated to this out here. And of course, the planes, climate control and all that stuff. So, we landed in Dallas, and it had just come a little thunderstorm there, one of the little evening pop-up thunderstorms you call them. Anyhow, we walked out of the terminal out to the actual outside, and the heat and humidity just knocked you back. I mean, seriously, physically, just knocked your ass back, and you're going, God damn, I'm glad I don't live here no more. Yeah, most people don't even know what a dew point is, Neil, or much less understand it. Ooh. Yeah, that's the is it called, the heat index too? It's like a chill, what is it? Chill factor when it's cold in the winter and the wind. In the summer, I think it's heat index, where they do some math with the temperature and the humidity, and it makes it feel a hell of a lot hotter than what it is. I think it's called heat index. Yeah, that's right. Okay. I thought I was right. Ours never really changes. We get wind chill in the winter, because we get quite a bit of wind out here. And so we'll get the wind chill, but very seldom get a heat index it doesn't really vary, because the humidity is always so low. Let me see what mine gives it to me. See what mine is at the moment. My deal says, now don't get mad. Don't get mad. Don't hate the player. Mine says it's 93 degrees and it feels like 93 degrees. That's what happens when you don't have any humidity. Now, I finally got around and broke down, theoretically, 3F's going to have those Outreach 2s in, maybe this week, maybe this Friday. So I went ahead and ordered one. And I did order that stigmata thing. So I'm gonna have the only English speaking review on that thing on YouTube. in the world, because I can't find one. I found Italian, I found Japanese, uh, Russian, I think, or something like Russian. So anyhow, it'll give me a really good uh, excuse to use up all this round Canthal wire I got piled up, because it looks like to me on that little thing, every time you put fresh cotton in it, you're going to replace the coil. It's kind of like those old, uh, hell, it's hell when you get old. Oh shit, those old Kanger coils, pro tanks. You know, I mean, of course, those were just like 30, 32 gauge wire if you rebuilt them yourself. But you know, you didn't try to save the coil. You ripped it out and you threw it away. And I'm thinking this is the same way. I see no reason, or it looks like to be a whole lot more trouble than it's worth to try to save the coil. And you need to eat some jellyfish. You lost me on that one, Mongo. That lost me. Yeah, that lost me. But it looks like you're just going to replace the coil every time you put new cotton in it. But they do claim, from what the reviews, yeah, I saw that, Neil. My only problem with that is the reason I didn't, because I wanted to get that other one. What was the name of it? It's the same principle as that. Hell was the name of it? I forget. But it came with the tank, and it actually came with a bridge. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're right about that, Mongo. I need some of them old people pills. But from what few would be the proper term for it? Good reviews I've seen for this stigmata thing, where it kind of appeared the person doing the review knew what the hell he was talking about. I think one of them might have been from the people that made it, or either the guy that designed it or something. Anyhow, it had more good, usable information than any of the rest of them I've seen. They recommend using brown wire, spaced coil, of course, because no way you can get to it to, strum it or anything. But they recommend using round wire, and actually 28 gauge is what they recommend. And not a huge coil either, just I think 5 or 6 wraps. They showed a little measurement to give it by if you wanted to, what to judge it by and whatnot. So anyhow, it'll give us, and that'll work great for the Canthal, because I didn't have a whole lot of trouble with the round wire rusting. And plus, if you're going to replace it, every time you change cotton, it's never going to get, wore out to the point it starts to rust or anything. So, but we're going to see it, because it's supposed to be, to me, this will be the ultimate vertical coil, so we'll see. I think it's just over-engineered to hell, but, and the funny part was you could watch some of the videos of the, like, Japanese vape reviewers, and I guess they kind of went in blind, kind of like Jay Hayes does, refuses, or Fagan, either one refuses to watch another video on it or anything. And they were so damn lost. It was just painful to watch, you might say. Yeah, that's it. It's you 3 wicks, and you throw the coil in the middle between all three, and supposedly it gets uh, power from both ends, positive and negative deal. And there's a plastic or a peak deal in the middle that separates the two half decks. Let's call them that, you know. And it does. It does. I think once you do it a few times, though, you'll kind of get it down a little bit because, uh, I went to the trouble of putting vertical coil, dual vertical coils in that old tell the name of it, Griffin type. It's not a Griffin, but it's similar to a Griffin. It had a uh, velocity style, old timey velocity style deck, but it's for dual coils. And I went to the trouble of putting putting the vertical coils in it. And the wicking takes you forever. It takes forever. And but when it worked good, it would just, the wicking just took too long. The better vape didn't equal the time it took to do the wicking. So most of the time, anytime you do a vertical coil in anything, it takes a lot longer to wick it because you really have to jack with getting the cotton around the coil. I'm thinking on this one, once you get it down, it'll, I don't know how long, it'll take longer than most tanks I've got around me now. I agree with that. But, it won't take too long. I'm with you, Hitman. 1, 2, 3 K-Funds in front of me at the moment. K-Fun X is my favorite tank at the moment. Thanks for coming by the way. Hitman Jack. We're going to call you Hitman. But yeah, that's yeah, I'm with you. In fact, I've got an intake, Mike Bates intake MTL in there by the recliner. And in fact, there's another K-Fund still in there. And so we're basically rocking all K-Funds. I have been for 2 or 3 weeks now. Oh my God, that was something, wasn't it? And see, I've had similar issues that he was having. I've had those because not all boral bridges, that's what I'm going to call them, work on all mods. Now, yeah, they'll fit in the little boral tank, but some of the mods are finicky. And I had one that ate my lunch for quite a while, and it ended up being it was a titanium one, and that was the problem. The damn, because it had, what did it have? 3 pieces, okay, that had to make the negative contact. And for some reason, and it was real, I guess, real titanium, it felt like titanium. I think wasn't magnetized. You couldn't stick a magnet to it. But anyhow, it wouldn't conduct electricity worth a shit unless you just really cranked down on it and really squished it together. Then it would work most of the time. But yeah, I had the same issue he was having. You take it off one mod, you put it on another one, and the damn thing won't fire. Uh, and yeah, you're right. The flush nut O-ring will screw you a lot of times, depending on the bridge. Some of them go in just fine, and some of them it'll catch on the O-ring and won't let it get a good ground. Yeah, I've had that problem before too. But that was that was kind of painful. Of course, first off, I I got tickled when he showed that first coil he had in there. It was some triple throwdown alien or some shit thing. You know, I mean, you can only stuff so big a coil in those little world RBAs. You know, yeah, he didn't like the idea of pre-cutting the leads either. He didn't like that idea. And I mean, he's probably not got the best dexterity, when it comes to stuff like that. So I kind of understand that. I mean, I don't have a problem, but and I thought I remembered Mark Todd having a problem, and I don't remember if it was with that RBA or a different one, but they and it might have been, I don't remember. Of course, what I remember was if they tried putting the biggest air pin in, then when they put it in the mod, it shorted out at the bottom because it was too big. And if you didn't have a mechanical adjustable 510, if it was just spring loaded, it would actually shove the little positive pin down and actually then hit the ground, the outside part, and it would ground out. That's because it's short. And I remember that, but I don't remember if it was that RBA or a different one, and it shouldn't have done it on that one when he raised the 510 up, the adjustable one. When he raised it up, that should have took care of that problem. If that was the problem he was having. But I remember somebody having, I think it was Mark Todd had a problem, I think, with an RBA when he put the biggest air pin in, because it was just machined. I mean, they left it huge, and if the 510 was spring loaded, it would just press it down and ground out to the outside of the little housing that houses the 510. So I don't know. Hey, I discovered many years ago, long before vaping, that not all designers and engineers got a 4.0 grade in college. I discovered that a long time ago. But to give him credit, he didn't just throw it down or pitch it over on the bench. He kept jacking with it. He kept working with it till he kind of got it to work. Yeah, Adrian, there are a bunch of them that only really are supposed to only go in one way. The chimney is usually where they run into that problem. But yeah, there's a bunch of those RBAs out there that only go one way. You're supposed to have either the name or the logo or whatever. It's all got to be, the base has to be a certain way, the middle section has to be a certain way, and because it's offset, it's not a straight through deal. I don't have any that's like that. All mine are round. They're the old style round RBAs, and you basically, I like lining them up to where the wicks are coming out the side, just so they get plenty of juice. So I usually let mine hang out just a little bit. I don't cut them just dead nut flush. I like to give them a little bit and then just flare the cotton a little. Yep, that little outer strand will get you too. Because a lot of times that shit, if it's like 40 gauge, everybody was saying, well, break it with your finger. Shit. Depending on how many calluses you got, I can't feel 40 gauge. I barely can hold the shit. It's so damn tiny. So if the outer wrap is 40 gauge nichrome, I don't know that, I don't think I could feel that. Now, if the inner cores were jamming out, 28 gauge, something like that, yeah, okay, I'll feel that. But if the little 40 gauge is sticking out, do I happen to know the screw size in the K-Fun X? No, I don't. Sorry about that, Hitman. I've got a very nice, very, very nice selection of screws. Because, if you're new here, I deal with lots and lots of clones, and 90% of the screws and clones are junk. So I bought me a real nice, fairly quality selection. See if I can get it open without. I haven't even opened. Well, I keep them all in their little baggies that they came in. Oop, where's the camera? There we go. But I do not know the size. If I was guessing, I would guess the 5. The deals I got here, the sizes are M1.6 by 5 or an M1.7 by 5. That would be my guess, but they might be 4s. But one of those would be my guess. I got these on Amazon, but they're a little higher quality than what comes in a lot of clones. Yeah, the best way to get an assortment like that. And I got those on Amazon. Just get an assortment. Good stainless steel too, I think. I'll use some flat wire. I started to order me some. Hey, Mick. Good morning, sir. The other day when I was on Wire Optimum, I had it in my basket. Just never got around to it. I need to do that because the only real flat wire I got is some homemade flat wire that I ran through the rollers on my metal brake, and I just took some either 28, 20. I think I did 28, 27, 26. I think. Don't think I did 24, Kanthal and stainless steel. And I ran it through the rollers, flattened it out myself, and it I think it works great. I mean, I'm a big fan of flat wire. Uh, you have to really wick it tight. Uh, the especially the big old the stuff I did, you have to wick it just extremely tight. Otherwise, you'll get a dry hit. Is what I've discovered. But yeah, I was a big fan of it. I have, in fact, on those old uh, 80s, the rebuild RBA in them, I think they still got some flat wire in those, and it worked. It worked good. I would say, in my opinion, it works as good as a simple single core Clapton. But now I have never used, except this supposedly alien Chinese wire, which is basically just a ribbon wire that's been Claptoned, which is not an alien, but they call it an alien. But it worked okay. But I don't have any store-bought flat wire. I was going to get some the other day. Got it in my basket, just hadn't placed the order yet, just to get it and try it. Because I did have good luck with my homemade stuff. Now I ain't never seen anybody do that. I may have to try that, Andrew, because I could run some of my homemade Clapton wire through my rollers and flatten it. I never thought of that. I don't know that it would. Well, with the anvil beating on it, you could probably get the core wire flattened. I don't know if running it through my rollers would flatten the core wire. Not sure. It might. Not sure. I might have to give that a try to see what the hell happens. Might be a happy accident. I was watching the old guy that does all the airflow tests and all that stuff, cotton tests. He likes beating out his on flat wire. Trouble I got with beating it out with a hammer, it's extremely hard to get it really consistent, and I'd much rather roll it than beat it out with a hammer. I don't see why that wouldn't work, Neil. I did. What did I do? Oh, the one that's in. What's it in? I think it's in this one. Uh, It's a little different than what you're talking about. It's 2 strands of 30 twisted, not real tight, but twisted, and then a 34 or 6 Clapton onto it, and it works fine, in my opinion. It's a MTL, uh, you know, but it was all nichrome. It works just fine. Works as good as the Chinese MTL Clapton wire, multi-core. Those little multi-core strands where they got 3 strands of 32 or 3 strands of 34 wrapped with something else. I think there gets to be a point. Uh, I would love to do some blind taste test. So I think there gets to be a point to where it doesn't really matter, you know. I mean, okay, a Clapton is better than a round wire. I'll concede that, you know, and a fused stapled Clapton is better than a regular single core Clapton, you know. But you know, I think there's a point in there where it really don't, you know, sometimes it just doesn't matter. It's like this little twisted one that I Claptoned up. You know, it tastes just as good as the store-bought normal multi-cord Clapton MTLs wire. You know, it's just as good. So I think there's a point where, you know, comparing one to another really doesn't, there's really not any difference. It would make that 40 easier to work with. You twisted two of them together. That shit is, that's a bitch to work with that stuff. It's so small. But I think one of the reasons the flat wire works so good is you got so much surface area. You know, it's similar theory and all as, you know, Claptons and, you know, the stapled Claptons and all that, the wide coils, the wide wire, you know what I'm talking about. Well, the flat wire, it's wide, but it doesn't have all the little, you know, stuff on it, but, you know, you got a lot of surface area. So that's why it works so good, I think. Can't really do MTL with it though. Got to the ones I did from my homemade stuff, I had to do restricted direct low. You had to have some airflow. Really, just didn't. The MTL didn't work too good, but I didn't have any real light gauge flat wire either. Of course, I think when you get so thin with so light, with the lower the gauge or thinner the, you know, it's makes it so hard to work with. You know, is it worth the effort? I don't know. Anyhow, change subjects right quick. I got my, theoretically, I got both my cameras working again. And let me show you what I worked on this week, what I had to do this week. So we'll get a little light on it. Switch it over. I had to make some rings, and I made the my inlay, turquoise inlay rings. Switch cameras. There we go. This is what they look like. They have a stainless steel core, and I inlay little bits of turquoise in a resin, and then turn it down on the lathe and polish it up. And there's some with the one with the smaller grit of turquoise. Anyhow, I was getting low on these, and I had to make some up this week to sell Saturday. So that's what I did this week. Back up and running now. Maybe. Yeah, Neil, I'm kind of with you on that. Of course, now I'll be the first to admit my palate is not sophisticated, and I love these people that do these the juice reviews and whatnot, and they say, "Oh yeah, I taste this and I taste that," and there's a dozen goddamn flavors in the recipe, and they're tasting every exact flavor. Oh yeah, I taste this note and I taste that note and this. I ain't buying it. I'm sorry, I ain't buying it. You know, yeah, you might taste something different than me, but yeah, when there's a dozen goddamn flavorings in that recipe, and you're gonna tell me you taste every one of them distinctly, no, I ain't buying that shit. In the same way with some of those coals, so and so's coals are better than so and so's coals. This is, you know, truth be told, it might be the exact same goddamn wire and wrapped the exact same goddamn way. So, you know, that's I think you get the reason I don't go in some people's chat rooms is because there's too many damn fanboys there, and if you voice an opinion that varies from them, or it slams their idol, they jump on you like a pack of wild dogs. So I just you know yeah, Neil, on our when I was on the race team, we had two door cars, one dragster, and we had to have the wells x-rayed, and we had to have the roll cages in the door cars and in the frame rail on the dragster. What do they call it? When they measure the thickness, they measure the thickness by putting this little meter on it, the thickness of the tubing. I forget the technical term for it. But yeah, they had to check all that, and they would X-ray the welds if they had to. But usually the guy that was checking them kind of knew what he was doing, and he could tell a good weld from a bad weld. And they were all TIG welded to start with, so it was, they're very seldom pulled one aside and actually X-rayed it. But they did check the thickness on the tubing. And I hate it. Back to the juice deal, because I made the mistake this morning. It's kind of a mistake, in my opinion. It is. This K-Fun X. I had run about 3 tanks through it. And I said, well, it's probably, I was getting close to being empty again. I said, well, it's probably time to change the cotton. I took it out. Cotton looked fine on the edges. And I said, well, sometimes it gets brown in the middle and the ends of the cotton look good. So it was vaping good. Once cotton breaks in, how much better it is. So anyhow, I cut the damn end off, jerked it out. The damn inside of the cotton was just as pretty as the outside ends. Anyhow, now I had to put new cotton in it. Now I had to wait for the shit to break in. But my point is my RY4 contains, the recipe for it contains 5, count them, 5, not 0.5, not 0.5, 5.0% of super sweet. I could have probably run 4 or 5 tanks through it before the cotton got need to be changed. It's because every time somebody says something, oh, it's a sweetener, it's a sweetener, it's a sweetener. Hey, almost all of my recipes contain at least 4 or 5% super sweet. Okay, most people couldn't even vape it. It's so sweet. Now I do have certain recipes This one right here, this banana, it's a banana pudding with butterscotch. 1 tank, cotton's gone. Same percent, 5%, super sweet. Okay, ain't got shit to do with the super sweet. It's the other flavorings that's killing the cotton. And 1 tank and you got to replace cotton. But yeah, the first thing they blame is the sweetener. Sometimes that's not the case. Well, hello, Anthony. It's all right, brother. Hell, we ain't coming up with no world-changing ideas here. Now, I will say, y'all remember from last week, I think it was, they sent me my last flavor jungle order. They sent me their house brand, you might say, of super sweet, supposedly similar to Capella's super sweet, and they called it ultimate sweetener. And when I did my little hand test, I liked the flavor of it better than the super sweet. So the other day when I mixed up juice, I used it instead. Used the same percentage, 4 to 5%, depending on the recipe, and it's working just fine. And I think it's cheaper. So we will be. I may switch over to it instead of doing the Capellas. See, now let me check this to make sure I am right on this. Where's that? Here it is. Well, this is probably better. I don't know if I'm. Let's see which one I can read the best. Let me check something right quick. I like to verify. Ooh, lots bright. I like to verify my. Hold on just a second, folks. If I was smart, which I ain't. Try this one. That don't say there, damn it. Ain't getting where I'm wanting to get. Okay. Let's yeah, Neil, I think that has a lot to do with it because I have changed the coils I'm using a lot and lowered the watts, but I still only get 1 tank from certain juices. I still only get 1 tank from use on the cotton. Hold on a second here. Let me check something right quick. Oh, come on. Now see, here's the reason I don't give Fagan too much trouble. It's because every time you try to do something live, the shit don't work. It really don't work as good as if you're just sitting in your recliner or sitting at your desk trying to do something. Just a second here. Here we go. You know, the shipping has gotten outrageous. On stuff lately. Here's what I want. Here we go. We're getting close, folks. Bear with me. Hold on. Here we go. Let's see. Is it going to tell me or is it going to screw me? God damn it. Oh, it's going to screw me. But, damn it. Maybe this will help. No, that didn't help. Okay, let's try it this way. This. Okay, here we go. This is what I was checking. Let me write this down. Where's the pen? All right. Back to here, back to there. There we go. Okay, now. Well, Adrian, that can easily happen because uh, probably shit, I'd say 99% of my flavorings up there are artificial, and you know they're made up of chemicals, and you know there is this thing called compounds, and uh, what else? There's something else when it comes to chemistry. I forget the term for it. So, hell, when you get old, yeah, I need some of them pills hit me. But anyhow, it's when you mix two chemicals together, you get a different chemical. I think it might be called, I don't think it's compounded, it's something else. Anyhow, back to what I was looking at. The super sweet, okay, uses sucralose, not sucrose. Sucrose is pure sugar. Sucralose, and I'm exaggerating the pronunciation of that, okay, is like an almost an artificial sweetener. It's not sugar. And at a high enough temperature, it'll act like sugar. But one of the deals makes it useful is it says it is heat stable, meaning it stays sweet even when used at high temperatures during baking, which is, you know, It's not what we're using it for, but making it suitable as a sugar substitute for baked goods. So, you know, you get the coils hot enough, maybe it'll imitate real sugar. Maybe it'll, goo up and crust up like real sugar if you get them hot enough. But most of the sweeteners in DIY stuff is sucralose. It's not real sugar. A little bit of difference. Close that out. But anyhow, the little Ultimate, their little house brand, Ultimate sweetener they call it, to me has a little better hand taste if you put a drop on your hand and taste it than Capella's Super Sweet does. And it seems to work just fine in my juice. Looks like the internet's kind of jacking with us a little bit. Getting a glitch here and there. That's what happens when you live out here in the middle of nowhere. I don't remember. There's a word for it. There's a word in chemistry. Uh, if you mix two things together and you just get a blend of those two things, if you had it analyzed, then you'd have this and that. And that's, if you had it analyzed. And then there's some stuff, if you mix it together, you get a new chemical. And I forget what that's called. But if you have it analyzed, it's this new chemical. It's not either one of the two base ingredients you put together. It's something new. It's a new deal. And like I say, 90% of this, or more, probably 99%, unless you're dealing with NETs. Hell, it's probably all artificial flavorings, which are just chemical molecules mixed together to try, hopefully fool your tongue into thinking this tastes like this. And Adrian, a lot of people think you got to have 12 ingredients in a recipe. I mean, it's amazing if you just step back, one or two little sweetener, maybe not if you don't want sweet, but just one or two flavorings will get you a good bake. It's amazing, just one flavoring, just one good flavoring. A lot of times, I can be real happy with just one good flavoring. Now it's got to taste like whatever the hell it's supposed to be. But yeah, I've never used an NET either, Neil. Of course, I'm not that big a tobacco fan. My RY4 is a one shot, and when I vape it, I don't taste tobacco. I taste caramel popcorn. That's what I taste. And it goes perfect with coffee. But I've noticed more of a cotton clogging problem out of flavorings than I have sweetener. Because I've got some peach flavorings. I can mix it up straight peach, no sweetener, no nothing. Coal will last one tank, or the cotton will last one tank, and you know the juice just clears the bell. You know, it doesn't really even turn dark. It stays clear as the bell, and one tank, cotton's gone. And I never would have guessed that. I did an experiment because I had a peach custard recipe that I really liked, but it would only last about a tank. The cotton would only last a tank. Well, first you blame the sweetener. Second, you blame the deal I was using to get the custard flavor. Okay, because you think just a straight normal fruit wouldn't do that. But I separated each ingredient, mixed it separately, baked it separately, and the peach was what was killing the cotton the quickest. Now the other, eventually killed the cotton. The custard type deal I was using, plus and the sweetener eventually, killed the cotton, but the peach killed it quicker. And you mix all three together, well, cotton ain't got a chance. Yeah, I remember back when I first started mixing. Hell, I thought you had to have eight flavors, or that was just the norm back in them days. I got 8 different flavorings. By the time you get that many in there, you're losing one, at least one, maybe 2, 3 of the flavorings. You're either overpowering or you're masking the subtle flavors with your strong flavors. And yeah. I watched some of that one, Andrew, when they had that guy on there. Well, that's good, Mick. I'm glad you're getting some that don't leak. I'm really sorry you had so much trouble with those X's. I mean, swear to God, mine, 0 leakage. But yeah, as far as the vape, that 2019 light should pretty much vape exactly the same as the K-Fun X, because the decks should be the same on them. I don't have one of those 2019 lights to go by. No, I don't have one of those. I skipped that version. But the build deck is in chimney and all that, combustion chambers I call them, but it should be the same. But yeah, Hitman, Mick had hell with his X's from day one, leaking. And I feel kind of bad because I think he bought it on my recommendation. Mine didn't leak. Except if I failed to turn it upside down for a minute or two before I shut the juice flow off to refill it, then it would flood. That was the only issue I had with mine. And they claim that if I'd have read the instructions, or if I'd looked at the real instructions from Semesto, they claim they recommend doing that. Just flipping it upside down, letting the air go to the top, and then cutting the juice flow off. Once I started doing that, mine never did leak. It just flooded a little bit when I'd refill it. I think he's got some issues with the fit and finish on the pieces under the build deck, because there's several little pieces under there that most people don't ever take apart. Yeah, if you can get one of those lights, especially if you get one of the, I think the newer versions has the new and improved airflow pin, I think on those. The ones with the O-rings on them, they should be fine. Should be great. Well, Hitman, if you look real close, when you pull, when you pull up on this to turn the juice flow off, the juice that's in that the channel between the bottom of the deck and the bottom of the device, some of it, it has to go somewhere. Most of it will just squirt out the side when you pull up on this, but some of it has to get forced up into the build deck. And that's what I was having happen when I would do it like this and pull up on it with it sitting full of juice. It would force some of that juice that was sitting under there up into the build deck, and it would flood just a little bit. That's the trouble I was having. And I realized if I just flipped it upside down and let that juice that's in that little crack kind of drain out, and so there's nothing but air left up here, and you close it off then, you don't have a flooding issue. It was just slight. I mean, it wasn't like I had to do anything, 2 or 3 vapes and it was back to normal. Yeah, Andrew, I've heard that. It's hard to remember to actually practice it, but I've heard it's a real good procedure to also have it turned upside down when you turn the juice flow back on any device that has juice flow control. That's what I've heard. I have a hard time remembering that when I'm, refilling it, but I have heard that. But Mickey he's had total hell out of his exes that he got. I guess I just got absolutely lucky. And you never know. I may have got a real K-Fun they were selling as a clone. An overrun, or one that didn't pass QC or something like that. You know, Mick, if it wasn't, if the damn postage wasn't arm and a leg, I'd have you send them to me, and I'd see if I couldn't fix them for you and send them back. But the postage from Australia would be, God knows what it would be. No, there's no adjustment, Adrian. It's just you pull up to unlock it and then you slide it. You know. Well, hello, Joey. Thanks for coming in, brother. You just slide it, and it is there is definitely a danger of a vacuum leak on the top of these. There is that. There is that potential problem there, because you know, losing your vacuum on top of your juice is just as bad as under wicking as far as flooding and leaking goes. Oh yeah, they're O-rings, Adrian. They're not. It's not a gasket. It's an O-ring. I think there's two of them. There's a little bitty round one over the center, I believe, and then there's a round one that got stuffed into a goddamn oval channel that's a bitch to get back in if you ever take it out. But it's not one of those big things like the stuff you see nowadays. It's a damn little bitty O-ring. Yeah, you can change it. It's, you know, but it's just an O-ring. It's not one of the big things you're used to seeing. The big gaskets or the big flange type things. It's just a damn O-ring. Kind of the same way, real similar to this Squape arrives. You know, it's just if you pull this top cap off, and I can get this one off pretty easy. Let me show you. Now the X has only got one of these. Where's the camera? The X only has one, but it's a deal like that. It's a kidney deal with an O-ring around it. It's what the X has, but the top just slides off of it. So the real potential there for a vacuum leak. Yeah, Mick, I'm thinking it's in all those damn parts underneath the deck that you can take apart in that juice flow control sliding mechanism thing. You know, there's quite a few parts in there people don't realize if you take it all apart. But it's real easy. And that's, you know, that was one of my concerns when I ordered that Stigmata the other day, is because that thing is over-engineered from hell. And from my experience, the more over-engineered something is, the more likely the clone ain't gonna be worth a damn. So but you know, I've said this before, top filling for me is not that big a deal. It's not a deal killer, because just like on this this K-Fun Prime, yeah, it's top fill, but because of the juice I'm running in it, when it gets empty, the cotton's gone. So I just fill it from the bottom after I get through replacing the cotton, and very seldom ever fill it from the top. You know, so for me, it's a top fill is not a deal killer. It's not, you know, deal. And then my Fev was the same way. The juice I was running in it I could get about 1 tank, and it was time to change the cotton. Well, while you're changing the cotton, just fill it up, and from the bottom. And of course, it is a bottom fill. It don't have a top fill, but it wasn't no big deal for me. Now, if you're getting 5 or 6 tanks out of some cotton, I can see it being a deal killer. Yeah, so I never did get into the fours, the K-Fun fours. I never got one of those because that just looked like an over-engineered nightmare, and I skipped that version. Yeah, Joey, I've got 2 Aries 2s. I can't say that I've ever gotten a whistle out of them, but I usually run them. I usually have at least, I think, 3 air holes open on them. I think that's the tightest I run them. I don't run them ultra tight, and I've never had a whistle problem. But I got 2. I got a regular one and I got a limited edition one, and but I don't run them real tight. I have at least 3 holes open. Yeah, Neil, that's what I'm talking about. Most of the time on mine, like I say, it's time to change a cotton, and then if you don't need to change it, at least you look at it, you get to see it, you know. Oh, are y'all talking about the little thing on the? See, now the deal under the coil. Oh my, let me make sure I'm speaking to this properly. Hold on. I don't never run these real tight mouth lungs, so I always have a pretty good sized coil in them. Let me make sure. Yeah. See, I always run the little thing under the coil. I always have it fully open to the slot. So I get full coverage of my coils, because I usually put a pretty good sized coil in these. And then I run the outside, like I say, the most I'll cut it down is 3 holes. 3 holes open. And but I always run the deal under the coil wide open on mine. They may whistle if you turn it down. Yeah, you're right, Andrew. If you're doing a high neck and you're not filling the damn tank up every 10 minutes, it's not that big a deal. So if you got to do it once a day, hell, I don't even do it once a day, because I got some in going at the same damn time. About once every 3 days, maybe. Oh, M16 times 4. Okay. That's quite a bit. That's not the biggest. It's kind of the one under a 5. A lot of them are 5s, I've found. But M16 times 4. Yeah, Mick, I've heard a lot of trouble. A lot of people aren't real happy with that Albrecht 1. I ordered the 2 just the other day. Supposedly the 2 is a whole different animal than the 1. We'll see when we get it in. Of course, I don't have the 1 to compare to, but most people seem to be happy with the version 2. I think some people were having trouble wicking it. I can kind of see that happening. You know, it's going to wick exactly like this Aries 2 that, well, really more like the Aries 1 than the Aries 2 because it had a slot. The Aries 2 has the holes to make it easier to wick, but the Aries 1 just had a slot. Now I've got lots of tanks that have the juice flow slots. You know, yeah, you don't. You got to pay a little more attention to the wicking, but they're not that trouble. Yeah, Neil, the one I got reeled that's, I guess the tightest one I'm vaping on right now is this X, and I got it wide open. I got the screw, or is it screw on this one? Yeah, I think it is. I got it wide open. I don't think it's quite 2 millimeter though. It's still pretty tight, even wide open. Well, now the one I was referring to, Mick, was the I think Net Vapor. What's his name? Shit. Uh, did a separate review just on how to wick it, and I'm thinking he was saying people were having trouble with it flooding. Well, I hadn't had that trouble, Joey. Of course, the only ones I've got is these Aries. I've got 2 Aries 2s and 1 Aries 1, and now my wife, she vapes the slide because she does coils. And I will say one thing for Anakin. I've brought this up before. Here's one of the coils for her, the slide tank. And I will say one thing for Anakin. When you replace the coil, you replace the 510. There's a 510 on every damn coil. So, you know, if you drop it and you crack the 510, you just throw a new coil in. And, you know, you're good to go. But I will say that for him. But, you know, I have never been an Anakin fanboy, I guess you could say. I mean, some of their products is all right. You can see my Aries 2s they're up on the shelf collecting dust. You know, I mean, the only good vape I ever got out of these was when I put a stapled Clapton in the damn things, you know, or something like that. Then they vaped okay for me then, but I never was that impressed with them. But I never really had any defects or concerns or anything like that. Just flavor wise. And I never, well, I take that back. She's got the, what's the name of it? It's they're one of their newest little ones that has takes a 21700 for her mod. Because the mod, only reason I got it wasn't because it was Anakin or because of two reasons I got it. One is because it takes a 21700 battery, which lasts her for 2 or 3 days. And the one I got her has it doesn't have a button. You pull the whole side panel is your trigger. And the mod she had before that one, that's the way it was designed. And she really, really liked that design. So that was the reason I got the one the Anakin mod that she has now. That's the only Anakin mod I got. Yeah, the Chroma, might have been a Chroma. Might have been what they call it. What the hell did they call it? I don't know. I've got so many damn boxes up there, I can't remember. But it's the one that takes the 21700. Single. But she likes that because she only has to change the battery about once every 3 days. So, and she doesn't, care about any of that other shit. She sets it at like 16 watts, I think, and she is just happy as she can be. If she's happy, I'm happy. Yeah, that's probably it, Neil. But the only reason I picked it was because it had the way it fires. You just like squeeze it and it fires. You don't have to hunt a button. Where's my stuff? Got you. Now, hey, Joey, where are you at in the world? I always kind of like to write down where people are from. You don't have to give me a town or just a state or country. It's fine. I'm just curious. Screw coming done on 510, very easy. Oh, England. Oh, that's cool. Another UK guy. That's neat. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm not an Anakin fanboy. I mean, I have Anakin products. I got K-Fun products. I got Swape products. Of course, they're all clones. Only reason I got real Anakin products is because nobody will clone them because they're so cheap to get the original. And they'd be clones. If it's over $40, nope. We'll go for the clone if they make one. If not, we just bypass that one and roll on. Now that's a game I ain't never understood was cricket. Never understood it whatsoever. Don't even have a clue how you make a point, how you score a point. Of course, I don't watch soccer either. Or football, as most of the rest of the world calls it. See, obviously I didn't even say that right. That's how much I know about cricket. To me, it looked like what would be the right word? An aggressive form of croquet. But I think don't they have a pitcher and you swing the little thing like a bat, but you do it that low. So I guess it wouldn't really be croquet. But I did not. I have to think if I remember right, they wear a whole bunch of damn shin paddings and whatnot. Well, I don't even watch that, Mick. I don't. I don't. I don't watch any sports. Uh, the only thing I used to watch, and I hadn't done it in forever, was drag racing. That was it. And I don't even watch. I don't watch hardly anything. No baseball, no football. I used to watch drag racing just because I drag raced, and now my wife watches bull riding. She watches professional PBR, professional bull riders. She loves watching that, and she'll watch rodeos. Of course, we're from Texas, so that would be expected. I've been to that one, Anthony. One time when I went to Florida, I stopped at that museum and went in and looked at everything and whatnot. I have been there. I like watching the rallies on TV, the clips, the wreck clips, the clips they make when they wreck. Because most of them I saw were, I mean, they're out there on these little narrow ass winding country roads, and of course the villagers are lined up to watch them go by, and one of them will lose it on a corner and splatter into a crowd, or hit fences and garden fences and guardrails and shit. And I have seen some of those. They were kind of entertaining. Now I'll tell you what though, if if, if anybody in here has ever been to a national event drag race where they had real blown nitro cars, they'll agree with me. There is no other sport event or anything that matches uh, the sensation you get when two of the nitro cars launch, when they take off the line. Uh, it is just, it's hard to explain. It's the concussion from, they're so loud. Of course, you have to have earplugs or wear ear protection or something. But they are so loud, you feel the concussion, the sound. Uh, Everything around you is vibrating. The stands are vibrating. You're vibrating. Your insides are vibrating, and there's just really hardly any way to describe it. But you actually feel. You can feel the sound, even with your ear protection. Of course, you can hear it, but you actually feel it, and it's really hard to. Really hard to describe. Nothing else like it. I guess maybe if you were standing next to a rocket when it took off, the space shuttle takes off or something like that, you might get a similar effect. But and they do have some of those desert races out here, just right over in the next little valley. Uh, and I think one of them's kind of halfway famous. I don't remember the name of it. The bad part is, I mean, there's nowhere to spectate from because it's like, you know, God knows how many miles the track is. It's just out in the desert where they went and put some little markers and shit. There is no grandstands. There's no spectator spot, you know, because hell, you know, one lap might be 20 miles or something. It's kind of like those rally races, you know. You watch them go by one time and it's over. But they have some of them out here. Yeah, it is a big crowd, Anthony. But trust me, if you've never been to one, if you've never been to a national event, uh, you really need to go. You do for just one day. It doesn't matter. Time trials, eliminations, whatever. They're usually 3 days long. You should go. You'll thank me for the experience. And if you really want to get the full blown experience, get seats that have a pit pass included with them, because then between rounds, you know, they make a pass. They make one pass down the track, and then they take the motor out. They take it completely apart, rebuild it. Either rebuild that one, put another one in, or whatever. But anyhow, you can go back there and watch them do that. You can get just real close and actually watch them do it. And the real experience, though, comes when they crank it up. When they get done putting it back together, and they want to crank it up, warm up the engine, make sure it don't instantly fly apart. They start those on alcohol. They've got a little bitty extra fuel tank, and they start them on alcohol, and then when the engine gets, after it's run for just a little bit, gets a little bit of temperature in it, they switch the fuel over to the nitro. And depending on which way the wind's blowing, it's like getting hit with pepper spray almost. If the exhaust comes your way, because you can't really see it, but your eyes will instantly tear up. You'll instantly not be able to breathe. And I know it sounds fucked up. It's part of the experience. But you need to go. You should go if it's, you know, within driving distance. And yeah, like I say, the crowds are big, but you'll thank me. Not even not even NASCAR compares. You know, you can be in the stands at a NASCAR race, and the majority of the cars come by all at once, and it's not the same. It doesn't even compare to when just two of those launch. Yeah, it's not the same. I mean, it's really almost impossible for me to describe. Uh, Best thing I come up with is like 100 concussion grenades going off right next to you. So one of the neat things about my when I lived in Texas, my home track was the Texas Motorplex, and a lot of regular Saturday night races. Some of the race crews that were home based in Dallas would come down and test and tune if they needed to, you know, and it, one of those deals. Well, hell, if you were a racer, in the pits, well, I mean, they didn't even rope off their pit or nothing. You could walk right up to the car and talk to the guys and whatnot, you know. That was kind of neat. Oh, I might have speaking about drag racing, I might have uh, uh, drag bike sold. I got a guy that's been in contact with on Facebook, and he seems really interested. He seems more interested than anybody else that I've talked to about it. Supposedly, he lives in Oregon. That's if I was on the East Coast, the damn thing would have been sold 5 times. But most of the people down there didn't want to drive. That's where all the people that wanted it lived, or kind of over on the East Coast, and whatnot. But they didn't want to drive this far to get it. But he's coming down from Oregon. That's a pretty good drive, but it's not near as far as that. And hopefully we'll get it sold. My big bike took 114 octane race fuel is what I ran in it. And basically it's just really, really, really good premium leaded gasoline. But it was set up to do 114 octane. And sometimes I had to mix it. I'd have usually you bought your fuel at the track. It was almost the only place you could get it. Hell, in Kentucky, it was so scarce. Me and another guy went in together and bought a 55-gallon drum of it, and just used it as we needed it because it was scarce up there out in the boonies, But some of the tracks wouldn't have 114; they'd have 112 and 116, and I'd get a gallon of each and mix it together to get my 114. And that has a distinctive smell too, and because I loved it so much, the drag racing so much, when I smell that now, it almost brings a tear to my eye. Because there's some people that have hot rods here in town, hot rods they built up, but they're street legal, but they still burn. They'll burn racing fuel in at least probably 110 octane or higher, and the exhaust has a distinct smell to it. Anyhow, I might have my last one sold. I took the other one apart, my little one. It was already half apart, and I sold it off in pieces. But the big one, I wasn't going to take it apart and sell it like it. It was going to get sold whole, or it was just going to keep sitting out in the trailer. I wasn't going to sell it a piece at a time. But one of the interesting things I thought was interesting, kind of touched my heart a little bit. One of the pieces that I sold off my other bike went all the way to New Zealand. And that just it just blew my mind. Neil, I don't know what you're asking. I've never heard that term. I think I understand what you're saying. The way we determine what octane to run is, oh no, it didn't. No, that's rich or lean. That's not a matter of octane. Octane is has to do with the compression and how much explosion you get when you finally get it to explode. Because the higher the octane, the harder it is to light the shit on fire. A lot of people don't know that. They think the higher the octane, the quicker it lights, and it's opposite of that. The cheaper the gas or the lower the octane, the faster, the easier it is to get it to light on fire. That's why you get the gas clatter, the ping, they used to call it, in engines when you would like be going up a hill in the middle of summer with the air conditioner on. You really lug the engine down, you get that gas knock. And that was because the fuel was exploding, lighting on fire and exploding before the engine was ready for it to, and it was actually, the noise you heard was the intake valve getting slammed shut from the explosion of the fuel. And so to determine what octane to run was based on the compression ratio that you had, is what we based that on. All right, Adrian, we'll see you later, buddy. We ain't here much longer. A few more minutes, and that'll be all she wrote. Yeah, but how much compression you had in the compression ratio is what determined what octane fuel to run. But now, usually, if you melt the top of the piston, usually you're too lean. And it gets too hot. Well, Neil, it's still, even with nitrous, you're just basically increasing the chances that you're going to be running too lean a mixture. If you got the mixture right, nitrous is fine with the pistons. It's getting the mixture wrong is what'll burn your piston, getting it too hot. And that's usually, and a lot of times that's the trouble. People will, because when you put in nitrous, you got to really up the volume of gasoline or race fuel. You got to really up that volume when you hit that nitrous button. Otherwise, it'll just go lean and burn the pistons. Yeah, a lot of people don't get that mixture right. It's pretty it's a little bit more complicated than what a lot of people think. A lot of people think, well, I'll just go down and get me a little 100 horsepower nitrous kit and throw it on my car and da. Well, a little bit more to it than that. Yeah, you can do that, but will your motor live very long? No, not if you got to pay attention and get your mixture right. Nitrous just makes it do it quicker if you got it wrong. if you get the mixture wrong, it'll just burn the pistons faster. That's why on my bike I always ran the mixture, air to fuel mixture, a little bit rich, a little bit more than what would have been optimum, because that way, we would run, you'd get there in the morning, might be kind of cool. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's 110 degrees in the shade, and you make your final pass that night at 12 o'clock midnight. Well, it's done cooled off again, And if you were going for the optimum speed in ET, you would have had to readjust your carburetor 3 times that day. Where if you run it, excuse me, if you ran it just a little rich, you wouldn't get the very best you could get, but it would be okay. You could run it all, it would run okay at all 3 temperatures. But it wouldn't be giving you the very top horsepower output. But you didn't have to worry about it going lean and overheating your engine. I always really loved. There was a lot of bikes that I raced against that ran nitrous, and them and turbos. There was a lot of them that had turbos, and I loved racing the bikes that had nitrous or a turbo, because there was probably an 80% chance that something was going to malfunction during the pass. Their nitrous either wasn't going to come on, one of the little relays was going to hang, one of the little valves was going to hang, something was going to malfunction, or they didn't have their tank heated to the proper temperature, and in the turbos, the odds of them blowing a seal were just astronomical. I don't know how many times I've gotten down close to the finish line and there's nobody close to me, and I look back over my shoulder and there's my opponent, barely at half track, and smoke's pouring out of the exhaust, and he done blew a seal on the turbo, and I just let off the gas and coast across the finish line. I don't know how many times that's happened. Or you get down there in the same way, you turn around and there's nobody next to you. You're going, well, what the fuck? And you turn around and look, and they're way the hell back down the track, and you just let off the gas, coast across the finish line, and pull up to get your time slip and ask them what happened. Oh, my nitrous didn't come on, or the relay stuck, or this, that, or the other, because there's lots of little components that have to work right to make all that shit work. I used to love racing them guys. Half time I didn't even have to try. You just make it to the to the finish line, and you would win the race. But when they did work, they went real fast. So. Oh, well, guys, looks like we've rambled on for a good 2 hours now. We went all the way from vaping to drag racing, around the world and back. Oh. So I think we're going to call into it here, and maybe I'll have maybe one or maybe both of the little deals ordered by next week. There's a possibility. That's right, Andrew. I don't see no reason we can't have another one next week, another live next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And we may have one of our little tanks in by next week. Sometimes they're on the ball and they get the shit here pretty quick. So thanks everybody for coming in chat. Thanks for everybody that's going to watch the replay. Remember, you can always comment in the replay. I treat those comments just like I do comments on my videos. And so have a good rest of your day, a good afternoon, a good night, or a good morning, depending on where you're at. And we'll see you next week.